So about projectors, you know how whenever human design first came out and Uru Hu was doing his lectures, and I'm sure you've seen them on YouTube, you know, the different lectures that are filmed from back in the early 90s of him in Germany or elsewhere doing these like workshops with like visual aids on projectors behind his head, you know. And when he's talking about projectors, he's absolutely perplexed in many ways. Like he doesn't have a lot to offer because projectors are such a new aura type. It's almost like this tone of time will tell. And he is alluding to the fact that they've just got to get out and like live and figure that shit out, you know? I mean, he has these very clear different suggestions and, you know, descriptions of the other aura types. And, you know, what generators are designed to do, what manifestors are designed to do, even reflectors. Like, there is this nuance of mystery to reflectors, but there is like this solid, you gotta wait 28 days, a full lunar cycle, like, you know, very specific. With projectors, it's kind of like the ball is in your court. I don't really have a lot to tell you. You have this penetrating aura. It's like you're the new experiment, and we will not really be able to know what it is you're here to do. We know that you are here to relate to other people. You're kind of like that gradation of the transitory state of the human being before the rave children arrive in 2027. That is, to me, what projectors, like, that's how he had described you guys, you know? And I feel as though we are at this precipice now. What is it, like 30 something years later, 1987 to 2027? That's going to be like 40 years. So we're like 38 years later, right here at the precipice of this global cycle shift. And I feel like we've gathered some data. You know, I feel as though the collective has done their homework, and in many ways, we have gathered data about the projector presence and the penetrating aura and what it does best and how it operates. And I also feel as though you guys didn't have as much of a potent, poignant expression of self until recently. And let me explain that, because I know that's like a loaded declaration that's going to be picked apart at some point, but I'm going to pick it apart for you. Here's what I mean by that. I mean that when projectors were born into existence in 1781, whenever this became 20% of the human population, I mean, you guys showed up as pattern interrupters. You were here to quite literally shake things up and challenge the status quo of the paradigm that had been in place for hundreds, if not thousands of years, right? You guys are kind of showing up for the final act. I mean, even Uru Hu himself said that this isn't going to go much further. This consciousness experiment, it doesn't have much longer to unfold. You know, we're kind of coming towards I feel like we're coming towards the final act. But projectors showed up like right before. It's almost like you guys arrived just in time for the fucking climax. You know, because in a way, you're here to initiate the climax. I mean, you kind of have to go back to this origin story of generators being the oldest of the aura types. I kind of envision, you know, with my training in anthropology and biology, I kind of envision like the original life on planet Earth the single-celled organisms, the amoebas, how the female was the first asexual organism that existed, and then from that other things came, right? I kind of envisioned that archetype as the generator. The generator with that defined sacral being the life force, vitality, powerhouse of life, of life itself, of life expressed through consciousness. And it was the generator who actually, I don't want to say the generator who birthed the others into beingness, but who manifested, who initiated, who had a deep longing to relate and to respond to something differentiated from itself, right? And I don't know whether it was the manifestors or the reflectors who came next. Maybe it was simultaneous. We can look at that later, but it's kind of neither here nor there in my deliberation here. That was what transpired as a result of the generators having a longing to respond to that illusory other, because we all sprang from this primordial oneness, right? And because we are all here to relate to each other. And without that vital key, that vital variable to the equation, this shit don't work. This system is null and void. And so these like monocultures, I do not understand them. The monocultures of the manifestor clans, and even like what I've seen lately in these projector movements. I mean, I understand it. I do, because I believe that the projectors, as a generalization, you guys have been shit on, You've been tossed aside because that which we do not understand, we reject. And you guys showed up late in this shit, and we did not understand it because it was different than everything that had happened before while we've all been here, I mean, that makes sense. Like that's just interpersonal dynamics 101, right? But whenever you take into consideration the reason why projectors showed up, I mean, if you look at the interpersonal dynamics and what had come of that, with the generators being enslaved by the manifestors, like quite literally in the fiefdoms and the serfdoms, of human history. I mean, we have this really long history of enslavement on this planet. And that is the paradigm that you guys arrived to change. That is the pattern that needed interrupting, quite literally. And many of us are reluctant to shift because it's not comfortable to shift something that is, so long ingrained in the frequency of the collective experience. I mean, with the manifestors ruling the generators, because in a way, if you set aside your emotions about the enslavement, in a way it kind of makes sense. The generators need something or someone to respond to in order for them to be optimally presented and for them to use their energy most efficiently. And the manifestors, they need to inform. And they didn't have the abundant, I don't want to say they didn't have the abundant energy. That's one of the misconceptions that I aim to fly into the face of, but certainly not for the building of foundations and institutions that have taken place under the cross of planning. These huge umbrellas, that is how you put that into motion. You enslave the generators and you put the manifestors in charge. And then whenever you lose your way or you are not, certain or clear about your way forward, the reflectors are consulted who exist on the fringes of society because they can't really reside within the framework of society, like that's been how the mystics, that's been how the reflectors have been utilized on the fringes of society. They're your seers, they are your your holy people, your even like your witch or your sorcerer that lives away from and people will travel out of society, out of that framework in order to consult them and then take that wisdom back to implement it, right? That's all breaking down. That whole fucking thing is breaking down, and everyone is really scared about it. I mean, you only need to look at the news. Like, I don't care what country you're in. Look at the news and what's happening in the world. And you will see in an instant that all of what we have built over certainly the last at least 400 years is crumbling. And that is validation of the change in global cycle. And it's really interesting that the global cycle ended in 1610 AD, I believe, and the projectors showed up in 1781, And it's just like, you guys are here. I feel like you're stepping into your absolute magic right now. But here's the crux. Here is the real thinker that I want to leave this with. I feel like many of the projectors, because they've been shit on all this time, before they have been allowed to be recognized, permitted to be who it is that they are and appreciated for it, they're kind of falling victim to the old ways that are crumbling. I see projectors that are informing as if they were manifestors. Like, they feel it. They feel that their time is coming. They feel it in their bones, but they're using old bag of tricks, And I'll finish by saying, Tereza, that working with you as a burnt out generator myself, I am coming back from the abyss here. And you coming into my life right now, I feel it too. I feel the power in my midst, and I'm ready to honor it. I'm humbled by it. And I will say this too. There is an embodiment of the projector aura that you are rocking that is different. It is different. I also see you operating and conducting your energy in a very different way. And I feel like what we're doing here is we're breaking new ground, and we are creating a new way. We're not reinventing the wheel, so to speak, but we are optimizing it. We are technologically quantifying the ways of the old wheel, and we are turning it into like a marvel of modern industry, because we are tapping into the differentiation between us, acknowledging, recognizing, and elevating the gifts that each of us have to bring. I mean, I know that it is a projector's role, to be recognized, for them to bring their greatest work. And I'm real good at doing that. That's something that I've always been good at. But I believe that your aura is here to kind of transform the whole of the collective, in that you're here to recognize each and every one of us for our gifts and to help us put it into motion to create a whole new wheel that is different, and it is better for our intents and purposes of rolling forward as a collective. you are here to recognize others as well. And this is something different that I'm seeing from you that I hope to see from other projectors also. I feel as though many of them, many of which I could name right now and I won't, are falling into that trap of how it is they were not recognized. And this is the way in which they were not recognized. And because hurt people, they're playing old tapes of the same old song and dance that was done to them. And that is a tragedy. It's not honoring the purpose of the projector aura and why it arrived in the first place. And I just wanted to say that, and I wanted to get it off my chest, and I wanted to thank you, Tereza, for like really embodying your energy and your magic in a way that is new, and doing it in an unapologetic way that is not playing old tapes, because I'm sure that you were also wronged. I know that because we've talked about it. You know, I know it already. And I know at some point you're going to share with our audience, you know, the ways, and you're going to articulate in the ways that, and I can't wait to recognize you for that. But I wanted to share the ways in which your differentiation is speaking to my differentiation, because I feel like it has the potential to light up the whole wide world.